Some Got it. Just to touch a little bit on some of our support services, we have a range of a few different ones. So we provide one-on-one support assistance through our support specialist program, and that's available for folks living with ALS, caregivers, loved ones. We have support services in a group format. So we have a few different support groups, support series as well. And then we also offer a range of peer support programming. So we have a peer mentor program where you can sign up to become a peer mentor to provide support to other individuals. You can request to be our peer mentee to receive support from our amazing peer mentors. And we also have launched a new peer support specialist program, which is our newest offering, and it is a 20-hour or so training module where you become a trained peer support specialist and then assist the support team with providing one-on-one assistance, services, support, and resources to those impacted by ALS. I'm going to put those resources in the chat so you can have access to those application links and learn a little bit more about some of that programming. We will also include that in our resource follow-up email after this. Before we move into introducing Bridging Voice as well as our panelists for this evening, we did want to just acknowledge that there are many different components to the topic which we're highlighting this evening. Today's focus is going to be predominantly on community members' experiences with some of the available voice technologies currently out there right now. In addition to that, as we mentioned, we'll highlight a lot of these resources that focus on the range of different technologies available, but just wanted to note that since there's so many elements to the different technologies and support services available in this realm. So we'll transition here, and I'll introduce Nachum Lehman from Bridging Voice. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Julie. Hi, everyone. My name is Nachum Lehman. I am the technical director at Bridging Voice. I'm also the unofficial president of the I AM ALS fan club because we just love everything about I AM ALS, as probably most of the people on this call do. Just such a wonderful organization. So thank you for having us. Just a quick summary of Bridging Voice. We started in 2019 with the primary mission being to fill the technology gaps that existed in the ALS community in terms of communication and computer access. And we have a small, but they call it a mighty team. It includes 6 speech pathologists, 1 occupational therapist, 3 programmers, and our amazing leader, Karina Nagin. Since 2019, we have worked with over 3,500 ALS patients in all 50 states and in over 25 countries. We specialize in educating ALS patients and caregivers about various technologies they'll likely require throughout their journey. We assist in acquiring devices for communication. We train users how to use and get the most out of their technology, especially eye tracking. And our specialty is our customizations to ensure users are able to communicate throughout their journey. We have dozens of innovations and customizations which have given eye tracking users their communication back. And please remember that in case you're ever in a situation where something is not working for you and it's affecting your computer access, it's affecting your communication, you can certainly call us and we're there to help. And our services are always free of charge. I think that's a good introduction. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So I'd love to introduce our panelists, and we're so grateful that they're joining us this evening. We can start off with Pam. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chaplain Pam Foreman, and I live in Norman, Oklahoma. Norman is just south of Oklahoma City. It is great to be here and have the opportunity to share with you the amazing resources that we have available to us. I have the honor to volunteer as a mentor with the I AM ALS organization. The voice you hear is my voice before ALS. Bridging Voices guided me through the process of developing my AI voice at every step. Bridging Voices had the expertise needed to help me. Because of this voice, I can continue to work as a chaplain and communicate with dignity. Bridging Voices gave me back my quality of life. I look forward to sharing more of my journey with you.
That voice is so amazing. Oh my goodness. It's just
Thank you so much, Pam, and thanks for participating this evening. Next, we'll go with Juan. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Juan Escalera. I'm connecting with you from the East Coast. I am a Jersey boy. As a volunteer with IAA, I serve as a mentor and writer for the Strength of Spine writing team. Additionally, I take pride in being an ALS community advocate. My involvement extends to Bridging Voice, where I act as a BV ambassador. In this role, I focus on sharing content from the Bridging Voice team with our community, whether it's promoting upcoming events like this one or highlighting their programs. I received my speech device over 5 years ago. I lost my voice before I was able to sing. Being able to receive this gift, I was able to communicate with my daughter. She was 4 at the time. Just that alone made a huge impact on my family's communication. Thank you. Let me pass you to Kristen, who's next.
wow. That's the first time I've heard your voice, Juan.
Thank you, Juan. And next up is Kristen.
Hi, my name is Kristen, and I love this video. My name is my
Hi, my name is Kristen Rankin, and I just wanted to demonstrate why I have to use voice technology with my eye gaze device. I've been living with ALS for almost 9 years. I live in the southwest suburbs of Chicago with my husband and 3 daughters. I have been volunteering with the community outreach team at I AM ALS for about 3 years, mostly contributing to the Tim Lowry Educational Panel Series. I have also been using the free services available from Bridging Voice for about 2 years. They've helped me customize my eye gaze device and have given me pointers for speeding up my typing. I have been using my eye gaze device for over 6 years for written communication because typing with my hands became impossible early on. As my speech has become more unintelligible over the years, I've been increasingly using voice technology for oral communication, most recently with this cloned voice that we'll talk more about later. I am very grateful for this technology because it allows for me to participate in Zoom calls so I can continue to work from home and converse with friends who live across the country. It's also comforting to know that I will be able to use voice technology to continue to communicate with my family in the future if I don't have the energy to speak or my speech becomes too garbled for even them to understand. Thank you to I AM ALS for inviting me to serve on this panel and to all of you for being here.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
You can end the webinar now.
I agree, but thankfully we have some more time left, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit more about our panelists. So, just to share a little bit more about your story and your background, we'll start off with Pam next. Thank you.
Again, my name is Pam Foreman, and it is great to share how the voice tablet enriched my life. I first noticed symptoms with my speech at work when I would say the overhead prayer for the hospital. I would have trouble pronouncing words. In talking with others, I would stumble over my words. My speech deteriorated over the course of several months, and I was diagnosed with bulbar onset ALS in April of 2024. By that summer, my speech was totally gone. It was a difficult time because as a chaplain, my job is to round and visit patients. In my mind, I felt my career was over, and I had a great deal of grief over how I would communicate with my family. During a checkup with Dr. Berry at Mass General in Boston, I shared my sadness in possibly losing my ministry. He suggested that I reach out to Bridging Voices and made a referral. Bridging Voices was a lighthouse of hope from day one. The first meeting with their support staff was incredible. The meeting was filled with understanding my needs and connecting them to what resources might be a best fit. Their knowledge guided us to what type of voice support might be best. Because my speech declined so quickly, I was going to use my daughter to create a voice bank of words, but Bridging Voices had an even better plan. I sent them old audio files of my speaking. My support person put the files into the proper format, reached out, and coordinated with all the other agencies on my behalf. In a short amount of time, I received my tablet, and in one session, my voice was set up and ready to go. It really sounds like me. I love to tell people that this is my actual voice, and it even has a Southern flair to it. Now, I use my tablet to round and talk with patients. I use it to offer the morning prayer each day at the hospital, and I conduct meetings with my voice tablet. The hospital where I work created a video story of my journey in using the voice tablet, and it is shown to every new employee and available for patients to view. The doctor told me that my tablet gave me a voice bigger than what I had before. I agree. I routinely have people stop by my office to see the chaplain and her tablet. Patients who are having a hard time with recovery see the power that comes from pressing forward. As I write this, I realize that the good people at Bridging Voices need to know that their impact is beyond just one person. I am able to continue working. And my identity, which is a gift from God, is made whole. Now, I would encourage others to reach out and learn what resources are available. I wish I had known sooner, so I would encourage others to reach out as soon as possible. Bridging Voices responds promptly to any questions, and I realized that their knowledge threshold was way above mine, so they will walk you through everything step by step. Thank you for allowing me time to share. I appreciate this opportunity. I am so thankful for the gift of my voice.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Pam. Juan, you're next. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to hear about my story. I hope I've inspired you enough to pique your curiosity about AI and its potential use for the ALS community. I'll pass the page. My decision to use AI for a voice came from having limited options. Interestingly, I've been using a form of AI from the start, through the voices available on my Toby Dynavox iSeries device. These voices are developed by Acapella, a voice company owned by Toby Dynavox. Voice technology changed my life for the better. I lost my voice very suddenly while still in the process of getting a proper diagnosis. At first, I relied on being bilingual, switching between English and Spanish when I couldn't articulate a word in one language. But everything shifted when I had my first appointment with my SL. My journey with AI began after losing my voice before I had the chance to voice bank. It offered me the ability to search for a voice that could reflect my natural one. While I've come close, I haven't yet found the perfect match. With time and advancements, I'm hopeful that I will. I encourage my peers to use AI voices as a backup voice or for other creative purposes. Personally, I use it to create audiobooks, and I'll play a short demo to give you a better idea of how I use AI later on if we have extra time. It's important to note that the voice formats on our devices differ significantly from AI-generated voices. The quality on our devices is slightly lower because the voices require significant resources to operate. Additionally, AI voice functionality depends on an internet connection. Luckily, I'm able to use it seamlessly, as my phone also serves as a hotspot.
Thank you, Juan.
Thanks so much, Juan. Kristen, I think you're next. Thank you.
I was diagnosed in 2016, and it took me a while to get my head around and accept the diagnosis. So I dragged my feet and lost some precious time with banking my voice. I finally got around to voice banking using Model Talker over a year and a half later, at which point my voice had already become weaker and I was slurring a bit. I don't think the voice banking process is as onerous now with newer technology, but back then I had to read 1,600 sentences into the software, sometimes multiple times, when the feedback said a sentence wasn't clear. I don't know if it was the software or if I waited too long, but once I got my iGaze tablet and plugged in my voice banked voice, it sounded like me, but was uneven and difficult to understand, even when I adjusted the speed and volume. As you can imagine, it was pretty disappointing after I spent hours reading those sentences. I will play the voice banked version of my voice now to demonstrate.
This is my old voice, banked voice. You can probably hear how it is a little more uneven and disjointed, probably because it works by putting the sounds of the syllables together from the 1,600 sentences I read into the software all those years ago. It also doesn't have the inflections that make my cloned voice sound warmer.
I ultimately decided that clarity was more important than using my own banked voice, so I instead used this canned voice, which is called Microsoft Zira. It is one of several available voices that came with my Tobii Dynavox iGaze device. This voice served me well for years before I learned about professional voice cloning. While it may sound a little impersonal, it's very clear, and I have a lot of flexibility about speeding the pace up or slowing it down, as well as adjusting the volume. I still use it sometimes when the priority is clarity over a personal touch, especially because there are still some hiccups with the new voice cloning technology that I will talk more about later.
Then, last year around this time, I attended a webinar hosted by Bridget about a new AI solution for creating a professional voice clone, or PVC, offered through a company called 11 Labs.
We can't hear it, Kristen.
For getting my own voice back, which I hadn't imagined would.
Looks like the volume went down.
Then, last year around this time, I attended a webinar
A little better.
about a new AI solution for creating a professional voice clone, or PVC, offered through a company called 11 Labs. It opened up a new possibility for getting my own voice back, which I hadn't imagined would be possible. While I couldn't record my voice new because it is unintelligible now, I was fortunate to know that some lectures I gave in the before times were archived on YouTube. One of my daughters helped me by downloading the audio to an editing software and going through all of it to remove other voices and background noises. I then uploaded about 3 hours of audio to the 11 Labs site. I think you only need 10 minutes of audio, but I had more, so I thought I would upload it all in case it improved the quality of the voice. There is then a verification process which is intended to prevent deep fake. The site asks you to read a new sentence to verify that the voice is the same. Since this is impossible for someone like me whose current voice is not the same as the recording, there is a manual verification process available. They require you to upload a form explaining why your voice is not the same, a copy of your ID and doctor's notes confirming the ALS diagnosis. They reviewed the documentation within a day or two, and my voice clone was ready within hours. The last step was setting up a meeting with the programmer at Bridging Voice, who brilliantly came up with a way to integrate the professional voice clone into speech devices like my Tobii Dynavox. The process was relatively easy and so worth it to have my voice back. I'm not going to pretend it's perfect yet, however. There are some drawbacks. One, you need a fast internet connection when you use it with a speech device, because when you submit the text, it has to be sent to the 11 Labs server, which then sends it back in your voice. So there's a bit of a delay too, but I have a fast connection at home, so it's maybe 1 to 3 seconds, depending on how long the chunk of text is. Because of that, the Bridging Voice programmer kept a second speak button on my device for the canned Microsoft Zera voice. So if I'm offline or on a slow connection, I have a backup. 2, I've occasionally had some trouble with the volume and pace of the cloned voice at times, and there is no way to make adjustments like you can with a banked or canned voice. Finally, because I used a recording of me lecturing about statistics, the tone of my voice clone is very matter of fact, as you may have noticed. So if I'm sharing something more emotional, like in a voice memo to a friend, it kind of sounds like I don't really care. I'll demonstrate what I mean with the following sentence. So sorry I ran over your pet chinchilla with my wheelchair. I know how much he meant to you, or I love you so very much. So it's not the optimal voice for those circumstances, but my only other choice was home videos from when my daughters were young, which all sound like this.
This is Tess the day after her first birthday, playing with all her new toys. Are you walking the dolly? Are you walking the dolly in the stroller? Uh-oh. Walk the dolly to me, honey. Walk the dolly to me. No stairs. No stairs. How about the stroller?
I'm sure you can imagine what my voice clone would have sounded like then, so I'll take matter of fact over that. While there are some drawbacks, on the whole, it's leaps and bounds better than my voice banked or canned voice. It's so much warmer and more natural sounding. I don't know if you noticed, but it even throws some ums in there here and there, and it's part of my identity I got back in the process, which is priceless. Lucky for us, the professional voice clones are literally priceless for people living with ALS through Bridging Voice. It's a huge savings because the license needs to be current month to month in order to use the 11 Labs server with every text submission. I encourage anyone who's interested to try it.
Thank you so much. That is incredible, Kristen, and Juan and Pam as well. Thank you for sharing your voices with us, and helping us hear a little bit what it's like, and especially sharing your experiences too. You get a thumbs up from Michael in Kansas City. Now I'd really love. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Michael. Oh no, it's okay.
I'm sorry. Absolutely. Yes.
Don't apologize at all. I also see we've got some questions in the chat, and my goal is for us to sort of hear from Nakum, and hear a little bit about Bridging Voice. He may be answering some of the questions that you all have, but we wanted to make sure that he had a chance to talk a little bit about. There's a ton of new developments, and as we mentioned in setting the tone for this, there's lots of different ways that we could talk about this. But I'm just wondering, Nakum, if there's, in thinking about the developments in this space, I think a lot of people are really interested in getting started and doing this and heeding the advice of Juan and Pam and Kristen about, sort of trying to get started now. So I'm wondering if you could talk about a little bit about sort of what should someone do if they're interested in learning more, and also, what do you see in the future and sort of coming for new developments in technology? I realize that's a really loaded question. So.
Okay, thank you. I mean, first of all, I have to admit, I wasn't prepared to be in a forum hearing so many 11 Labs voices with such, unbelievable words and kind words. It really, although we've given out, I think we've given out close to 1,000 voices already. This is way more impactful than anything I've ever experienced. So thank you everyone for that. I guess the first thing is that voice technology, thankfully, is probably the fastest moving technology today, which affects alternative communication. And a lot of this has to do with because it's really depends on AI. And in case you've heard, AI has been moving relatively quickly. So it's 11 Labs, which is the voices that you've been hearing. They really are at the forefront of professional voice clones. And every other day, there's a new feature and voices are improved. Even just if we go back 6 months ago, users who created their voice then, they've seen improvements in their voice. They've seen how it's able to take into consideration context better. And there are many features which I have a feeling most of the users who are using their 11 Labs voices don't know about yet. And as they become known, people are going to get even more and more excited. I did notice a question, which I stuck it into my notes here once I saw the question, because I think it's an important thing to discuss. If someone asked about speaking in other languages. So with these 11 Lab voices, you can create your clone in English, for instance, but then if you type in Spanish, it will speak in Spanish with your voice, even though you cloned your voice in English. The only downside about that is that you may sound a little more American than someone who's a natural Spanish speaker. You can also clone your voice in Spanish and then have it speak in English, but then you'll get the other way where you may not sound totally American. But either way, you could actually make 2 clones. There are lots and lots of options for you to be able to clone your voice in one language, but then still be able to speak in one of another 60 or 70 languages. Context is something very, very important. As someone did mention, if you say in a sentence, "I'm excited to be here," then if your voice clone has in it some excitement, then it will actually sound excited. The voice clones do replicate pretty much whatever you put in, that's what's going to come out. With one little caveat, which we'll discuss later on, just one feature which I'd love to just highlight today. But aside, I think we need to just take one step back, because 11 Labs is really awesome. And as you can see, everyone sounds natural. There's inflection, there's intonation. But I think we do need to go back to what's called traditional voice banking. So I'm going to just go back for a moment so that we keep things safe. If someone is diagnosed with ALS and they can still speak, one of their priorities should be to bank their voice as soon as possible. Now, banking their voice, traditional voice banking is one of the voices that Kristen played for us, which it sounds a little bit robotic, and it's nowhere near the quality of an 11 Labs voice, but it's very, very important to have a banked voice, because as Kristen mentioned, that you have to be connected to the internet for an 11 Labs voice to work. And sometimes you're just in a place where there is no online connection. So having a traditional banked voice is something that will work on your machine no matter where you are, even without the connection. It's Team Gleason is really important for this because there is a charge for creating a banked voice, which people who are signed up with Team Gleason can have that charge covered. And even the guidance in making that initial banked voice, Team Gleason has a program for that. So that's one important step in making sure that your voice is replicated in some format. The second step, which is the 11 Labs step, I think the most important thing to remember is if someone is diagnosed and they know or they're seeing changes in their voice, grab an iPhone, grab something which will allow you to just talk into that device for a half an hour or an hour, speak naturally, make believe you went to the mechanic, he did an oil change and it was really nasty, and you're telling your friend about it. You just want to talk with as much emotion and inflection as you can so that when the 11 Labs voice is created, it will replicate you as much as possible. The more audio you have, the more natural you'll sound. If you are someone who's given classes or lectures or sermons, obviously those will give you a lot of audio, a lot of good quality. Sometimes we did have one client who was giving a testimony in the most boring scenario, and so his voice came out a little bit boring, but still it was still light years ahead of his other voice. And of course, call Bridging Voice for any of your needs, whether it's related to voice banking or voice cloning to 11 Labs or any of your devices not doing what they're supposed to. Call us and we have a team that's just waiting to help. And although some of the voice technology stuff seems confusing, it is not, and it's so simple if you have someone holding your hand for those few moments that you need to invest in getting your voice replicated. It is important, like Kristen mentioned, the 11 Labs account is something which normally costs $99 a month. And there is a partnership between Bridging Voice and 11 Labs where they have agreed to go and give out free licenses to 1 million people with disabilities across the globe so that they can have access to their high quality voices. So I think that's the main thing we just need to remember is it isn't as hard as it seems. And I think you see the fruits of the labor of Pam and Kristen and Juan of like what they've gotten out of this. And it's really just a phone call to Bridging Voice, to I AM ALS, to Team Gleason, and you'll get there. I want to mention one cool thing. I think, Julie was asking, there are so many features coming out of 11 Labs on a daily basis, but there's one that just recently came out, and I bet Pam and Kristen and Juan heard it a few hours ago, but I think you'll be really surprised. A lot of people have certain phrases that they say a certain way, like let's say I think that's a good example, Kristen. What are you doing with the dolly? That's like a good example of something that you'd really like to say it like that. And even 11 Labs can't really replicate that, mostly because probably they don't know exactly how you want to sound in each venue. But 11 Labs has just recently added something to what they call Studio, where you can type a sentence and it will say it the way it would normally say it in your 11 Labs voice. But then you can have anyone come and press a button and model the way you want that sentence to sound. So you can change it to, hello, what are you doing with the dolly? And then your voice will actually say it in that exact, with all of that inflection and tone and everything. And so this is like, now I actually, I was playing with this last night for a different reason. And I decided to test something out, which also worked. So if Pam and Kristen faint, well, what can we do? I actually modeled singing happy birthday, and that worked too. That it was able to use the clone voice to sing happy birthday. So, and the more, I think the more voice you have in there, the better that will come out. I tried a couple of tunes. They weren't perfectly on tune, but they were mighty close. And it was definitely singing happy birthday for me. So I think that there are more exciting things to come. And I hope everyone grabs their 11 Labs voice and it really gives them back their complete identity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all that insight. And my direct messages are blowing up with, how can I reach Nakum? How can I reach Nakum? How do I call Bridging Voice? That will all be in the follow-up email that we send, that has the links and contact information for how to get in touch with Bridging Voice. And Nakum, could you just talk a little bit just quickly about when someone calls Bridging Voice for the first time, like, are they in like a queue, or like, do they get connected to you, or who will they interface with when they first call?
Usually, so I think usually the way it works, if someone reaches out, whether it's by email or phone, we officially have a 72-hour response time. It's usually the same day, but you know, that's 72 hours to stay safe. I think you'll usually speak to Deborah Zeitlin, who was on here before. She may still be here. She's our clinical director. So she does all of the onboarding for Bridging Voice. And she'll just go through a bunch of questions just to get the, basic information and to know your situation. And then you'll be assigned to someone from our team. Everyone on our team is great. They're the nicest people in the world, and they know their stuff, and they'll be able to walk you through this without any issue. Usually in 11 Labs Voice, if you have some recordings already, usually you can get your 11 Labs Voice back within a couple of days. It's that quick when everything goes smoothly. Sometimes finding those recordings or getting rid of the other people speaking in those recordings, that can sometimes take a little bit of time, but generally speaking, it's a quick process.
Thank you. And I've just been keeping an eye on the chat. So just moving over to questions and answers. I know that I've missed some, so I apologize. You can put it back in the chat if you have a question. But I saw somebody said they're in Canada. Is this available for people in Canada?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Somebody asked, Juan asked, does Bridging Voice accept donated equipment such as eye gaze devices?
Yes. And sometimes there are different things that are done with them. Sometimes they go into a loan closet, which we use for emergencies when someone's device, dies and they need something until it can be repaired. So we're very quick with that sometimes. That's not the main thing. Sometimes it's for people in areas where they can't get equipment, people on hospice or in facilities, and sometimes for international clients who really have no option of getting an eye tracker or something. So there are different things that we use it for, but we don't mind if it goes to us or it goes to a different reputable organization. And anyone taking this equipment is reputable.
Thank you. Juan also said that he would like Antonio Banderas' voice, if that's available.
So there are, I think we didn't mention this. Juan alluded to it, But in 11 Labs, they have thousands and thousands of pre-made voices. Some are celebrities, some are just regular people, and those people actually make money when you use their voice. They get like some sort of a commission from 11 Labs according to how much their voice is used. So you could actually put in, I want a Southern cowboy. You can put in all sorts of descriptions, what you want, and then you'll get back choices for voices that may suit you really well in case you don't have recordings or you just don't like your voice. So
Wow. So Juan, that's an option. Bryce asks, what if my voice isn't totally clear and I don't have any previous recordings? Am I out of luck?
So, not totally. It depends how unclear it is, and one thing for sure. I mean, you're lucky if you don't get me on the call, because if you get me on that call, I will not stop harassing you until you find recordings, because 99% of the time, everyone finds something. Even if you find 1 minute of recordings, that is usually enough to create an instant voice clone, which may not sound as pristine as the voices you heard today, but even with 1 minute, you can get a voice that's going to sound really, really close to your voice. So, got to find that 1 minute.
Malcolm's not kidding. I've heard him bug Juan Escalera about sending more stuff and promising that we can do something with it. So
and he's found more. Twice already, he's found more, and I've been bugging Juan for many months. So,
all right. Any other questions, anybody? I'm going through the chat to see if I missed any. Sue asked, is it recommended that I get an 11 Labs clone voice before I actually need it? I've already banked a traditional voice.
yes, certainly. And, it's not even about getting the voice. The main thing is making sure that you've got the recordings. So if you have the recordings, already, you may as well make the voice, but it's not as important. The main thing is having your voice preserved in recordings that will be sufficient to make an 11 Labs voice.
Any other questions? Geetha said, I banked my voice while I had anxiety. Fair enough. And Daryl said, I would like Antonio Banderas' body. So there's a running theme here. Sean says, bridging voice is a lot more than just 11 Labs. Very true. And Geetha's asking if she can re-record the voice banking she did while she had anxiety.
So this is a funny question. It's a great question, but there's a little bit of controversy around that question, because really you can, hypothetically, you can use an 11 Labs voice to create a voice bank voice. So really, you could just start with the 11 Labs and then create an a cappella voice or a model talker voice using the 11 Labs voice. There are issues with it right now, that it doesn't work perfectly. There maybe are some legal issues. It seems that there aren't, but some people believe there may be. So I would say you probably will be able to re-record in the very near future using 11 Labs. I mean, to be able to record your a cappella or other voice bank voice.
And Will says you can also use phone messages. And Lynn says, and family members' tapes.
Yes. Voicemails have been a really good source. Sometimes, we had one woman, her daughter had retained all of her voice messages. And out of that out of those voice messages, we got 10 minutes of voice to be able to create a professional voice clone. So don't take that for granted.
Juan says, Juan Reyes says, don't fear the technology. It will give you your purpose back. And Juan Escalera, I don't know. I know you said you maybe wanted to share some of your other voices. I don't know if you are ready to do that, but if you'd like to, should feel free.
They did, but their response is like.
Juan says, okay. Oh, and Karen asked, do you have to use cloud storage for the voice? And Kristen responded, bear with me. No, but when you submit the text on the eye gaze device, it gets sent over the internet to the 11 Lab server and then sent back and played. Yeah.
Tears of my peers. Mystical Lake. So it begins. I made it home and found Rose in the back garden, tending to her usual tasks. I updated her on my doctor's appointment.
So, mi amor, how did it go with Dr. Phil today?
She asked. I think it went well. I have to get a CAT scan done on my head, and they drew blood at the office.
Okay, cariño, I'll make the appointment for you.
Thank you, mi amor. You're always on top of everything.
How was the beginning of your day?
Rose inquired as she turned back to the phone. I have wonderful news. All of the clients are on board. We are finally good to go to the top floor.
Wow, cariño, you did it just like I knew you would.
Thank you, mi amor, I replied with a smile. You've been a huge pillar of support through this whole project. Rose's eyes lit up with an idea.
Cariño, I just had a wonderful thought. Why don't you take some time off work? You've been working nonstop on this project for years. I doubt Mr. Jefferson would mind, especially after all your hard work.
You know, mi amor, that doesn't sound bad at all. I'll start making arrangements when I get to the office. It'll take a couple of weeks to ensure everything is in order for the project to proceed without me.
That would be wonderful,
She said with a soft smile.
It's been so long since we've traveled.
She started heading inside.
I'm going to get supper ready. It's my turn tonight.
The next morning, I resolved to act on Rose's wise suggestion. She deserved some rest and relaxation, and so did I. I arrived at the office a little earlier than usual and reviewed the blueprints for the new communication towers. Everything seemed to be in order. Ruby arrived shortly after. Ruby, can I speak with you for a moment?
Sure thing. Mr. P, is everything all right, sir?
Yes, Ruby, everything's wonderful. I wanted to let you know that I'll be taking some time off, about a month or two. Don't worry about work during that time. I'll be paying you your full salary.
Mr. P,
She said wide-eyed.
I don't know what to say other than thank you so much for this surprise.
I nodded. We're on the journey to the top, Ruby. I knew it. I sent an email to Mr. Jefferson about my plans, and his reply was almost immediate.
Scott, I've reviewed everything with the board.
His message read.
You've earned this and more. Fill out the forms and I'll sign off on them.
I hadn't expected things to go so smoothly, but it was a welcome relief. I sent the paperwork to HR and shared the news with Ruby. By the end of the day, the plans were well underway.
Thank you, Juan. Incredible. Just want to bring us up to date in the chat. Karen said a brilliant telenova. And Chris asked, I've done some voice banking with Team Gleason, but only in short bursts of talking. Will it be better if I do longer recordings? And Nakam said, yes, longer and more conversational. David said, this is amazing. We've been working on it. In the solution that we've built is connecting more personalized AI to create the text to connect to the 11 Labs voice clone to reduce the amount of typing necessary since my hands are getting weaker. And Charlie said, if you have an audio clip of your voice, but it has a lot of background noise, you can run it through a free program called Adobe Podcast. It makes your audio clip sound like you recorded it in a recording studio. And Kristen said, Karen mentioned a push for those who have just been diagnosed to do their voice banking. I am an example of someone who waited too long, and you heard the impact of that on my voice bank voice. So please don't wait. And David said that solution is now out as talk to. I can't read. Sorry, something's covering. Talk to me, Goose, in the Apple App Store. Amazing. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate everyone coming. Any other last questions or comments or thoughts anyone would like to share? And Juan said that was 4 different voices in part of a chapter I have on one of my audiobooks. 4 different voices. Incredible. Everybody. Any other last questions? Chris says this process sounds very simple.
Webinar success.
Julie, I have a question.
Yeah.
I just started voice banking through the VA using acapella. And will I be able to move that over to 11 Labs or through your programs?
Yes, you can, but it would be more recommended if you took a half an hour and just recorded some conversation you're having and got some more natural, because the acapella sentences are short, and you don't have an opportunity to get any emotion out. A good argument with the garbage man or something, that's where you want to get out some real emotion. So
okay, that makes sense.
We're going to call you tomorrow to see if you did
it. Okay.
Elaine asked, will you send this out so we can share the recording with others? Absolutely. So it's going to take probably till tomorrow for this to upload to the cloud, and then we will put it on our YouTube, our I AM ALS YouTube channel. And so I'll add it to the email that I send to you all afterwards. But yes, we highly recommend spreading it far and wide. And thank you for that question. And Carol says, thank you for hosting this panel and introducing me to Bridging Voice. And thank you to Bridging Voice for your work, life-changing truly. I have a friend who also has bulbar ALS and has lost her voice. She needs a push, so this recording will be a wonderful help. For me to share with her at my next visit. And Chris asked, do you mean recording on AVRX Pro? Something like that?
Any software, any app that you have, it's, anything will work. So, on a PC, Audacity, you could even use voice notes you'd like to get a little bit of a higher quality recording. So, something that, 44 kilohertz, something like that. In case, or a 192 kilobit MP3, something that's got some level of quality. Today, almost everything will record at that level of quality.
And Sean said you don't need to have a record a half hour straight. Chris said thank you. And Sean said, Michael, if you need breaks, take them. And Geetha said, I think she wants to know about the cost of banking with Bridging Voice.
Well, everything that we do is free. So doing 11 labs, you get a coupon that would allow you to get a free subscription to the 11 Labs service. And then our services are free of charge. And then if you did traditional voice banking, you would sign up with Team Gleason, or like someone mentioned on the VA, you can get that with the cost of that voice banking would be covered as well.
Thank you. And Diane said, thank you, everyone. It's so exciting to see how technology is improving quality of life for those with ALS. And Juan Reyes says, next challenge for Juan E is a barbershop quartet. Amazing. Well, we're at the top of the hour, everybody. I just want to thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to see you all and to hear your questions. I will be, like I said, sending that email that has all the resources on it and the recording of this webinar. It will be available on our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions after going through the resources, please feel free to reach out to myself or Patrick, or directly to Bridging Voice. If that is what you're looking for, we will direct you there too if you have questions. But we're just really excited to talk about this. So if there's more topics that you'd like to learn about, and maybe specifically around voice technology, please also let me know. We would be happy to do a series on this if people are interested. And if Nakam will come back. Yeah, we really appreciate all of your time and for being with us today. So thank you, everybody. And thank you to our panelists, Pam, Juan, and Kristen. And a big thank you to Nakam and Bridging Voice.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Say bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job,